Alrighty. Now what the hell happened? God damn it. I just had this thing set. What the hell happened? I just went through it. Alright. Ah! I think I'm going to throw these headphones out. Alright. Ron's here. Kathy's here. Let's get started. Broadcasting live from beautiful 15-degree downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL TV, home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I am your host, the Grumpy Old Man, and shit. Our show is brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. No bow. Thank you. See you. Bye. Okay. Boy, I'll tell you what. I'm really enjoying bitching on the phone. Today, I opened my gas bill. And this goddamn outfit pulled the same shit on me this year that they pulled on me last year. You know, every year you have to search for new utility providers. At least in Ohio. I don't, probably other states too. I was paying a wonderful rate of $3.30 per million cubic feet for natural gas. As of my last bill, my year was up. Now, do they send you a letter? Do they try to communicate with you? Do they try to retain a customer? No. My gas rate went from $3.30 per million cubic feet to $9.99 per million cubic feet. You ought to see the charges on my gas bill. So I called them and I said, you know, you don't want to retain customers. And the guy says, well, what do you mean, sir? I said, instead of like negotiating with me and saying, hey, we can't give you that rate, the rate's going to go up. No, you immediately stick it in the customer's ass by going with your highest rate possible. He said, well, we sent you a letter. I said, you might have sent it. I didn't get it. Because I said, I open everything, even junk mail. There was no letter from your company. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. I said, well, do you want to keep me? Well, of course. All right, what's the rate? Well, we can do $5.12. I had looked through, God, there's got to be 200 goddamn providers. And that was about par for the course. But you have to bundle your electric. I don't think so. I'm not bundling anything. Well, then the best we can do is $6.99. I says, okay, see ya. So well, I hope the guy's happy overpaying for that Crown Vic, but whatever. So I called this I don't know, IGA, IGS, IGJ out of Dublin, Ohio. The best they could do was 502. No bundle, guaranteed lock, fixed rate, 12 months. So that was about the lowest because gas has gone out of sight. So I went with them. Then the girl tells me, this new rate may take 1 to 2 billing cycles to kick in. I said, what? I'm going to be stuck for another month or two paying $9.99? I said, this is ridiculous. I said, by the time I get done, I'll have to take out a second mortgage to pay my gas bill. So she says, hold on, let me get my supervisor. Nobody can make a decision nowadays. Either that or they are the supervisor and it's like, well, let's just fuck with them for a little bit. So she comes back and she said, I will put this on expedite. I said, well, what's that mean? Well, on expedite, it should kick in within a month. So I'm going to get screwed for another month at $9.99. So she said, I would suggest you call your gas company and see if they can also put it on expedite. So I called, well, what is it now? It used to be East Ohio Gas, then it was Dominion, now it's Enbridge or fall off a bridge or jump off a bridge. So the girl says, I can put it in for expedite, but there's no guarantee that it will kick in sooner. So this asshole company is going to get to stick at my ass one more month. So then I called the electric company. And I said, what's your rate? They gave me the rate. I compared with 50 different goddamn electric suppliers. Theirs was the lowest. So I locked in with that one. I didn't have to change providers. But this is bullshit every goddamn year. And it's on the customer. And you can't get help anywhere. With all the federal cuts, all these assistance offices are closed. And if you, like, there is one helpline. The illuminating company girl gave me this helpline. I call. It says, your wait time is anywhere between 1 and 5 hours. Hours. Not minutes. So the office opens at 8 a.m. Tomorrow morning, I will call. And I'm sure immediately there'll be a wait time. I will get on the press 1 if you want us to call you back in turn. And then I will sit here and wait for this helpline to help me. It's sad. It's totally sad that with the goddamn deregulation of everything, it's not like, back when I had my first house, you had one provider for gas, one provider for electricity, and one provider for water. That was it. You moved in, you made 3 phone calls, done. You didn't have to worry about comparing a rate here and comparing this rate and going down this list. Yeah, Kathy, I think they buy a script from one company. This company prints the scripts, and then everybody buys one. The phone suppliers, the gas suppliers, the electric, the water suppliers. So while I was on a roll, I decided to verify something with Spectrum. Because, in a way, I don't trust them. So I called the Internet division, and I said, I need to verify my rate. The guy puts me on hold. He comes back and he says, verified at X dollars until December. I said, will you send that in an email? No problem, sir. I said, I will hold until the email comes through. Well, the email come through. It's the same price before I shit-canned their phone service. And then I asked him, I said, if the phone service is optional, why do you shove it down somebody's throat when it comes time for a customer to get a package? Well, we just want you to try our service. It is free. I said, no, it's never try. It's, in order to get this, we need this. I said, you guys are real deceptive. And I said, if you take a look, I canceled the cell phone. Well, that's your right, sir. It was free. But I'll tell you what, like Judge Judy says, get it in writing. And if they, if somebody won't give something to me in writing, I'm done. I'm done. But I'll tell you what, it's getting harder. What the hell? Spam call. It's actually, I'll tell you what, they're catching on though, because it is getting harder and harder to threaten. It really is. It's getting harder and harder to threaten them because they don't give a shit if you quit. They really don't. There's no begging to retain a customer because there's millions out there. They don't care. I can guarantee come December, my bargaining power is going to be less because they're going to look at the records and go, well, twice we gave him real deals. Now it's time to pay full price. I can see it coming. Like that asshole in where was he? It wasn't Minnesota. Yeah. The one in Minnesota that said, well, sir, sooner or later, everybody has to pay full price. That's what I'm going to get come December. I can see it coming. You've went 2 years with bargain discounts, Grumpy. It's time to pay up. I'll say, well, I'm going somewhere else then. Okay. Just don't let that ass get in the way of the door when it closes, But see, Kathy, they don't want to commit. They really don't want to commit to you. Now, with the deal that I'm getting, it is one hell of a deal. Believe me. Because 1 gig internet is $120 a month. I'm getting it for $40. Ron, we'll go into delivery companies shortly. Oh, Cat, don't get me started on Dish and DirecTV. Oh, Jesus. That, anything with a dish is the worst on the planet. I'll tell you what. I went with Dish. That guy moved that goddamn dish. He must have moved it 7 times on my roof, different places. He could never get that dish directly aimed at the satellite. If I farted too strong, I lost a signal. If I had a breeze, I lost a signal. If one raindrop fell, I lost a signal. And God forbid if it snowed. Oh. You know, usually a dish has one eye. Well, after the guy moved the dish on my roof about 4 times, he installed a second eye. He still could not get locked in on a satellite. So he installed a larger dish with 3 eyes. And he still could not get it to lock. They put a booster in my house. Big black box signal booster. After fighting with them for 4 months, they finally took it down. They threw their hands up. Sorry, can't do it. And DirecTV, they're just as bad. And you know, it's getting worse. Because you don't get a cable box anymore. Everything is from the cloud over the air. No boxes. You don't get a box. If you want their quote cable package, they flip a switch. There you go. Enter this code. There's your cable. Because they don't want to pay for the equipment. They do not want to pay for the routers and pay for the Wi-Fi units. And they definitely don't want cable boxes. It's an added expense. Now, unfortunately, all of them have admitted they do have to have a router and a Wi-Fi unit. They can't get away with doing that from the cloud. But then you get this demonic, deformed ostrich egg from AT&T that don't work for shit. It's not like right now. I have a wire coming in the house. It's plugged in to a router and a Wi-Fi unit right here. They don't want to do it that way anymore. They don't want to pay for wire. So they send you out a receiver so they can put the signal over the air. The problem is, you can't put that unit where you want it. because it depends on where the strongest signal comes through your house. That's why I really put up with Spectrum, because I have hardwired equipment. Oh, right. Right, Kathy. 100% right. Even though it's over the air, you're still paying as if it was hardwired. And they're saving that much money because they're not paying an installer to hardwire anything. Those days are slowly becoming like dinosaurs. It's greed. Eliminate the installer, eliminate those wages, eliminate buying cable and connectors and other equipment. You ship it out to the customer. Okay, here's your box. Go around the house with an app and place this where the strongest signal is. Like the bullshit I went through with that demonic, deformed ostrich egg from AT&T. The only place I could get 80% signal was in the far corner of the living room. That don't do me any good when the studio is in the back bedroom of the house. Right? And it's getting worse. Every company learned that as soon as they got an agreement with China to make their shit. Okay, close these factories, lay all these people off, get the product made for 1/8 of what we were paying to have good American labor make it, and keep our fingers crossed that the shit works. Perfect example, that RCA radio that my grandparents had. My grandfather bought that like 1935, 36. In 1972, it was still working like the day it was purchased. I buy an RCA, Radio Corporation of America, one of the oldest radio and TV makers, and the TV lasts 1 year because it was made in some Chinese junk factory. Rarely do you find anything that says made in USA. Look at your appliances. All the names that used to be made in the United States are made in China. Now, I'm not sure about KitchenAid. I haven't checked. Although KitchenAid was always ultra expensive. But it was quality. I don't know if Maytag still makes washers here or if they're made overseas. Maytag used to be like the Cadillac of washers and dryers. This is for you, Kathy. I have a combo VHS DVD player that was made in the United States. The guys that invented the combo unit literally had to fight to get a decent price out of the company that manufactured it for them so that it could be sold at a competitive rate in the United States. I can't remember how many different manufacturers. They wanted their product made in the USA. And the prices were outrageous that they were getting from American companies. The only thing is, it's the goofiest player. Like I say, it plays either VHS or DVDs. It also has a copy feature. Except the copy feature is copying the DVD to VHS. What the hell good is that? It should be copy the VHS to a DVD. Nope. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to look. It's sitting on the dresser. I have not checked. Are Briggs and Stratton engines still manufactured in the United States? I know they were the holdout for years because Honda came in with that overhead valve fuel injected lawnmower. Yeah, Briggs and Stratton, they had the market cornered for 50 years, 60 years, maybe even longer. At one time, I think every goddamn lawnmower, whether it be Sears or Toro or had a Briggs and Stratton engine. Oh yeah, I'll tell you, my buddy's son has a John Deere riding mower, and as a matter of fact, his uncle has one that is probably 30 years old, 40 years old, It was amazing the side by side comparison with the old one versus the new one. The old one was built like a tank. The new one had more goddamn molded plastic shit on it, and it was disgusting. You took a look at the old one and went, there's quality. You look at the new one and go, there's a piece of shit. I can't believe John Deere stooped that low. But they have to stay competitive with all the Chinese shit coming in. Well, well, well. Amazing. Thanks for looking that up. So good old Briggs is still a USA company and KitchenAid. But you know, I guarantee Briggs and Stratton sales are way down due to the imported shit. Because years ago, if you look at how many lawnmower repair shops there were years ago, people had lawnmowers for 25, 30 years. Now, you buy one of these Chinese pieces of shit. If it breaks down in 2 years, throw it away. It's not repairable. I've been told that those Honda engines on the lawnmowers, the overhead valve, basically are non repairable. If they break, throw it away. They're basically throwaway lawnmowers. Oh, they're still in Ohio, huh? I'll be damned. I didn't know that. Cool. Outstanding. We actually have a company manufacturing in Ohio. Amazing. But I'll tell you what, I can't vouch for today, but back in the day, Briggs and Stratton engines were tanks. They were built like tanks. They operated like tanks. They, if with proper maintenance, the goddamn things ran forever. And they were repairable. If something went wrong, you took it to the mower shop down the street, and within a couple of days, you had it back, running like new. There was another small engine. God, I can't remember. They did more industrial. God, I can't remember. I can't remember the name of it. They were another American company. I want to say it started with a C. but they were more on the industrial side. Like they built engines for like small generators for small companies, not hospitals, because hospitals always had the big fucking monsters with the Caterpillar or Detroit diesels. God, I can't think of the name of that. Matter of fact, most of their engines were made for small, like two person aircraft. Starts with a C. That was another unbeatable American made small engine. It's sad the industry we no longer have. It really is. Now, getting to your delivery problem there, Mr. Lynxfur. I was told by a supervisor from Amazon, because I walked right up and talked to him. No matter what you put for delivery instructions on your package, it will go on your front porch. Unless you live in an apartment building and then it goes to the mailroom, if you have a mailroom, or it gets thrown on the floor underneath your mail chute. Because I told the guy, I says, I have a banner that says, do not deliver here, deliver the side door. He said, you could have a 40-foot semi-trailer with it painted on the side. We deliver to front porch, period. Because I told him, my instructions say either side door or milk chute. He said, as far as we're concerned, those instructions don't exist. Front porch only. Another small engine that was made here was Lycoming, and those were mainly industrial and aircraft. And Lycoming in a small, two-seater Piper Cub was one of the most dependable engines on Earth for years. They even powered military planes. They weren't as big, Kathy Kohler. There was Briggs and Stratton, Lycoming. It starts with a C. I can't think of the name of it. But like Lycoming and Kohler was more industrial use. You never saw a lawnmower with a Kohler engine. At least, not that I know of. Could be. I'm glad to see Briggs is still a USA company. Although, you know what? I'm going to go up one of these days to Homeless Depot and take a look at some lawn equipment and just scope out Briggs and Stratton engines. I would tend to think there's a possibility they might have had to go to fuel injection because of the EPA and the clean air standards, but they might still be running good old carburetors. I wouldn't doubt if there's a goddamn catalytic converter on a lawnmower. Man, I'll tell you, I take a look at the goddamn after treatment on these diesel engines on semis. Jesus Christ. It's amazing the goddamn things run. There's so many goddamn converters and afterburners and this and that. Like, you know, these tow trucks next door. And the thing that gets me is you can't hear these new diesel engines run. I loved the old diesels for the clatter, like when I'd fire up my Eldorado, which, you know, you got a big fancy Eldorado Cadillac and you got a bunch of tin cans under the hood clattering around, but I loved the sound. Timmy's girlfriend has got a, what the hell is that little Chevy? Cobalt? I think it's a Cobalt with a diesel. And you can't hear it. She starts it up. It sounds like a gas engine. I want to buy it, even though it's an automatic. I keep telling Timmy, when she gets ready to sell it, I want first hit. Because it's a diesel. Matter of fact, I don't know, that something might be wrong with it. The goddamn thing hasn't moved out of the driveway in 2 weeks. I know he spent a fortune on catalytic converters and what the hell else did he have to put on it? Luckily, he works for a Chevy dealer. Although I'm not sure if hers is the older style or if I'm going to have to ask him if he has to put that DEF in it, that diesel emission fluid. I miss the good old days of the old two-stroke Detroit diesels. God, you'd hear them things coming down the freeway. And then if they kick the Jake brake on, man, I love the sound of that. Every now and then, I will hear one cranking down the freeway, that good old two-stroke. Because there are guys that have been restoring the older trucks to get around the emissions. And, like, I'll tell you what, the other day I saw a couple of old Peterbilt cabovers going down the freeway. I was like, holy shit. The one was that Aerodyne, the one that had the raised roof with the windows. But see, you got to be an owner-operator. You got to work for yourself. Because a lot of these companies that you would lease to have an age limit on trucks. But I know a couple of guys that haul for themselves. and they've got old Peterbilt and Kenworth cabovers with Detroits and Caterpillars. Now, is hers the older one? She don't have to buy that DEF. Have a separate fuel tank for DEF. The straight old bang and clatter diesel. Yuck. Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned it earlier. We're gonna cut out at 8:30 because my buddy's son out in Burbank is gonna call me after work. He didn't say why. Maybe he's got some goodies for me. Yeah, he told me. He said when they close down the studio at 5:30 Pacific time. Oh, my kind of diesel. The old school. Cool. As a matter of fact, the older diesels, and it's a proven fact, have fewer problems than the new ones with the DEF emission fluid bullshit because the older ones aren't, they do have a computer. But the newer engines, oh man, when there's a glitch in the computer or it goes into check engine mode, oh God. If there's something wrong, the computer automatically reduces the speed. The unit won't go, the truck won't go over like 25 miles an hour. It goes into limp mode. But if you got the older one, that's a 100,000 mile plus engine with no problem. Maybe even 200,000 miles. Oh, geez, really? She's like I used to be, huh? I used to be that way years ago. People never knew what the hell I was driving. They were like, "Didn't you have a blue Chevy?" No, not a Chevy. I might have had a blue Ford or a blue Mercury. No Chevy. Didn't you have a red pickup truck 2 weeks ago? Well, yeah, now I got a green one. I used to flip vehicles. Oh, man. You'd swear I was playing vehicle tiddlywinks. Christ, I remember I had 3 different pickup trucks in 7 days. Is this the one with the Bronco? The Bronco I want, even though it's got an automatic in it. I'd take it, even with the mismatched fender. Yeah, Kathy, what's amazing? those things are starting to come out of the woodwork. I don't know where people had them hidden, or there's a lot of people looking in barns, but it's amazing. Not only Ford, but Chevy, square bodies. I see more and more of them goddamn trucks. Matter of fact, there was a, what the hell year was that? It was an 80s vintage Ford pickup up at Mark's the other day when I was up there. Yeah, evidently the guy must have brought it in from somewhere down south. I was going around that truck, and it was a manual too. It was a mid '80s F-150. You know, the one that's about the size of a Ranger today. You know, another interesting thing. There are a lot of '80s Oldsmobile Cutlasses. You see a shitload of them in the summer. I don't know where kids are getting them from, except they put them stupid ass big wheels on them. But there was an '80s vintage Cutlass last fall. It was gorgeous. It looked like it just rolled out of the showroom, except for the big fucking goofy wheels. The ones that have tires on them about that thick. It's nice to see people still restoring that older stuff because once we hit like the I'll say the 2000s, maybe even before that, I cannot see anybody restoring like a 1990 Chevy or restoring a 2001 Passat, except me. There really aren't going to be any collector's vehicles 25, 30 years from now because they're all crap. They're junk. They're plastic junk. I haven't seen too many Pontiacs. I see a lot of Chevys and a lot of Oldsmobiles, which it's great to see the Oldsmobiles, especially considering Oldsmobile has been gone for what, 25 years? Maybe longer. When GM, that was one of the first ones they killed. They killed Oldsmobile and then they killed Pontiac. Christ, GM's got shit to choose from. What do they got? Nothing. You got Chevy, you got GMC, Buick. That's it. And I look at the Buicks, and all I think to myself is, that's not, my father's or grandfather's Buick. They don't even look. And then, if you've noticed, Buick changed the logo And they don't even put the model on there anymore. You know, like Encore or whatever. It just got a logo. Like Hyundai and Kia. You don't know what the hell they are. It just has a logo. That's it. Unless you get into the big, honking SUVs, the Palisade and the Carnival or. I remember my neighbor years ago. He had a Caliente. Nobody knew what a Caliente was. It was a Canadian Pontiac. He bought it up in Canada and brought it down. I don't know why Canada had a different name. It wasn't Pontiac, it was a Caliente. And then he had to have the goddamn speedometer changed because it was in kilometers. Now, I'm not sure. But down in Mexico, for years, they made the old Beetle, not the new one. They were still manufacturing the old Beetle, but you could not bring it into the United States. There are certain vehicles manufactured in Mexico that you cannot import, no way, shape, or form. Even if they're 25 years old. Nope, can't bring them in. That's why you see, besides the Japanese mini trucks, it's amazing some of the 25-year-old Japanese cars that they are bringing into the United States. They have a little two-seater gull-wing, little coupe. It's got a 3-cylinder turbo engine. I can't remember what make it is, a Daihatsu or something. I saw one last summer. It's a little gull-wing, frickin' little sports car. Because there were a bunch of people in the parking lot at the store, and I asked the guy, I says, what the hell's under the hood? He said, oh, it's a 3-cylinder turbo. It was about the size of my shoe. I still want to get a Japanese mini truck. Oh man. One of these days. Because the neat thing about them is they're all 4x4s. And 90% of them have a dump bed. It looks like a flat pickup bed, and the sides drop, but they dump. And most of them coming through are manuals because the Japanese aren't big on automatics. But see, over there, after like 4 or 5 years, they get rid of their cars. First of all, there's some government thing about older cars. And second of all, if you've got a 5-year-old car, you're considered poor. So they upgrade, they buy new cars every 5 years. That's why so many of them are coming into the United States because they're like new. Over in Japan, you can't have rust, peeling paint. Nope. Mm-mm. Oh yeah, my little sister had one, a Monte Carlo. I can't remember what year. She had it for about 6 months, and she didn't like it. So my father, spoiling her rotten, went out and bought her a Buick Regal. But that Monte Carlo was hot looking. I don't know why she didn't like it. I think because it was the bigger. Remember, the Monte Carlo got kind of fat in the hips. I would like to find an old Ranchero. They were never too popular. They would be, well, today, the Maverick and the Ranger. But back in the day when they had the Rancheros, they weren't really popular. They weren't big sellers. It's sad. Because my cousin up in Rhode Island, her husband had the Ranchero that was the little Ford Falcon. It was a little Ranchero. God, he had it for years. Was fully restored. Then I found out he sold it and it pissed me off because I told her, I said, I wanted that thing. Was it had a three on the tree? That's what I mainly wanted it for. Kids nowadays, three on the tree, what is that? How come it looks like an automatic but you're shifting it? It was the little Ford Falcon Ranchero with a little 200 cubic inch six with a three on the tree. Yeah, I can imagine the guy probably wants a fortune for it too. I'm not spending $700 to bring it back here. I had, before the Ford Ranger, Ford imported from Europe the little pickup truck called the Courier. I had one of them. I had a Ford Courier. It was made in England. And I'll tell you what, I wish I had that thing today because, first of all, they didn't import that many. And now they're rare. Oh my God, they're harder to find than dinosaurs. There was one in this neighborhood because every now and then he would take it to a cruise in. And everybody would be looking at going, what the hell's a Courier? It was an English pickup truck, little one. And then Ford built the Ranger because there was a demand for it. But I had a red and white Ford Courier. Matter of fact, I also had a Ford Cortina, which was an English Ford. Another vehicle they imported from England. It was brought over here to kind of compete with the MGs and the Triumphs. It was a Ford Cortina. I had that all through high school. Hey, look who's here. Good old TV. We're talking about old cars. I was just saying I had before the Ford Ranger, Ford imported a pickup truck from England, and it was called the Courier. And Chevy brought one in too. I can't remember what the Chevy was called. Before the S10. The Love. The Chevy Love. That was a Japanese. Because a friend of mine had a Love truck. I had the Courier. And then I bought the English Ford, the Cortina. Of course, man, I had MGs, I had Triumphs. God, I miss them vehicles. I had an MG Midget, which basically was the size of a casket. The scary thing was the pedal box was right behind the left front wheel. When you got in, your feet went all the way out, and the pedal box was, if you'd have got hit in the left front, you'd have shattered both your legs. But oh, what a fun little ride. Oh my God. That little car, you could almost pick it up, put it in your pocket. Another thing I had was a Renault Dauphine. Gargled that one. A Renault Dauphine. That was when Renault was importing cars here. And my buddy had a Peugeot. A Peugeot diesel. Little four-door, it was a Peugeot 309 or 509 or something like that. Little four-door with a diesel. Matter of fact, my neighbor across the street had an Isuzu pickup. It was same size as the Courier or the small Ford Ranger. It was an Isuzu. You don't even see Isuzu anymore. Matter of fact, it amazes me how Mitsubishi has really held on over the years. But Isuzu, they sold cars in the U.S. for quite a while, and then they weren't popular. Isuzu went mainly to small delivery trucks. I had a Triumph TR4. I sold that and bought a Triumph TR6. And then I had a Triumph TR8, and it got stolen. That was a hot little car because it had a little V8 in it. Matter of fact, I had a friend, I can't remember what make vehicle. It had a V4. It was a little foreign thing with a V4 engine. Nobody could believe it. They're like, a V4? He'd open the hood. Yep, little V4 under the hood. I can't remember what make vehicle it was. It was some English thing, but it had a V4. I had a Saab Sonnet. Oh my God, did that thing belch smoke? It was a two-stroke, and you would add oil under the hood in a tank, and it mixed the oil and the gas together, and oh, did it smoke? Oh God, it looked like a little baby Corvette, a Saab Sonnet. I had some cool cars back in the day, but you know what? You didn't think they'd be worth anything. You flip it, you buy it cheap, 75 bucks. Maybe put a rattle can paint job on it and sell it for 100. The one thing I never owned and I always wanted was a Jag XKE. I could never afford one, but God, did I want one. Matter of fact, there's a guy up the street. It's either a 98 or a 99 Jag that's been sitting in his driveway for about 8 years now, and he won't sell it. I want it. He won't sell it. Every now and then I stop. Jag for sale yet? No. Well, Jesus Christ, it's been sitting on 4 flats for 8 years. Not for sale. It's a dark metallic green on top of it with green leather interior. And he won't sell it. I don't know why. It's just sitting there. I drive by it constantly. I'll stop. Jag for sale yet? No? Okay. Matter of fact, it's one of the last ones that's got the leaping Jaguar on the hood. So you know how old it is because hood ornaments went out long ago because they were dangerous. Some pedestrian might get gored. That's why they did away with hood ornaments. Because if people were getting hit, the pedestrians were getting hood ornaments up their ass, Yeah, gargle, a Renault Dauphine, and a Saab Sonnet. That Dauphine was neat. I used to drive it up and down the sidewalk just to piss my neighbors off because it was that small. Little rear engine, little tiny 4-banger that was about the size of a shoebox. Oh, was that a fun little car? Oh my God, I love that Dauphine. Then I had, what the hell was that other Renault? I had a Renault 4-door sedan. What the hell model was that thing? Oh, God, I can't remember what model that was. It was a Renault 4-door sedan. And dumbass me, I had a coolant leak and I didn't know it. And it got hot and it cracked the block. And I could never find another engine for it. God, what was that Renault? Diplomat? No, that was a Dodge. Why am I thinking Diplomat? It was a 4-door Renault sedan. Like a 70s vintage. Maybe early 80s. God, I can't remember the model of it. You know, they still sell them. You can still buy hood ornaments. They're nothing like. God, I remember some hood ornaments were so big they weighed about 5 pounds. Pontiac used to have a real neat one. The Chieftain had that. Pontiac had that cool hood ornament. Who else had really cool hood ornaments? I remember the Pontiac one because it lit up. The Chieftain had a Indian head that would light up. It was amber in color. Amber, it was yellow plastic. And at night, it had a light bulb in it. And the hood ornament would light up. I also had a Studebaker, the one that looked like you couldn't figure out the front from the back. It had that big round bullet in the middle of the hood. The frame broke on that one. I had to scrap it. But I remember my uncle had a Pontiac Chieftain, and it had that really neat hood ornament with the Indian head in yellow or amber plastic, and it had a light bulb in it. When he turned the lights on, the hood ornament lit up. And that was from the factory. Yeah, the good old Muppet movie. But I'll tell you what, I got in more trouble with that little Renault Dauphine because like I say, it was so small, I would piss my neighbors up. I would drive up and down the sidewalk with it. Then they kept threatening, we're going to call the cops. Well, I'll be off the sidewalk by the time they get here. But in the summer, in the evening, all my neighbors would be sitting on their front porches, back in the day. I'd be driving down the sidewalk, blowing the horn. Beep, 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 beep. That was a cool little car. I can't remember why I sold it. Oh, I bought that bigger. God, I can't remember what model name that bigger Renault was. I mean, it wasn't that much bigger, but it was a nice four-door 70s vintage. I keep saying Diplomat, but that's Dodge had the Diplomat. Can't remember it. Not important. I just wish I had some of the old cars that I had back in the day, especially that 59 Thunderbird. Oh, I could kick myself for selling that one. I got it from an old lady. It sat in her garage for years. And one day I worked up the nerve to ask her if she'd sell it, and she went, yeah, I think it's been taking up garage space for a lot of time. I think I paid $200 for it. Oh, what a cream puff that thing was. Yeah, they did, Kathy. Like the old Ford. Like the what was it? The Model T. The hood ornament was actually the temperature gauge. But I remember back in the, the 40s and 50s, almost every car had a hood ornament on it. But that Pontiac Chieftain was the coolest one. Because it lit up. That was so unique. Pontiac really had an idea with that one. But then, see, hood ornaments had to go bye-bye because pedestrians were getting hurt. Because they'd come up over the hood and go, yahoo! They'd get a hood ornament up the ass. Matter of fact, the longest holdout was Jaguar. They fought it till the end because, like I say, that Jag up the street's got the leaping, I call it the leaper on the hood. I want the car just for the fucking hood ornament, really. But that guy won't sell it. God damn, he won't sell that car. It's just sitting there, right outside his side door. In the back, he's got an old Econoline van. Then he's got the Jag. And he's got a 90s Ford. No, it's a late 90s Ford pickup. And he's got a minivan. His whole driveway is full. He drives the minivan and the pickup, but the Jag and the van been sitting there forever. And he just won't part with that frickin' Jag. And I want it. Because it would be a neat addition parked right next to the Passat. Two metallic green cars. Grumpy's favorite color, green. I would have WDWL TV and WDWL TV 1. Parked side by side. With 10,000 LED lights in it. Hopefully my book is here by the end of the week. And my other item. I ordered myself a book because I like to read. And then the item that Kathy will want to order for her granddaughter, we'll get into that when that gets here too. I know Kathy's going, you bastard, will you tell me what the fuck is going on? Cheers. Oh, text message. Hang on. Text message. Oh, okay. He'll be calling me in about 10 minutes, he said. He sends me an email. I'm going to call you. He must have some goodies. Actually, he probably does, but he wants to probably run them by me rather than, like usual, just drop them in the mail and send them. I don't need no more microphones unless he's got some high-end ones to part with. Well, I think we ought to wrap it up. I don't want to be on the air when the phone rings. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. It was another fun night. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again right here tomorrow night, the home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And with that, take care. And we will have the obligatory 2 see-yas. I don't know why OBS did that in their update, but see ya number 1. And see ya number 2.